Now, we've got two more high-profile events before lunch, the first of which is another keynote speech. We're going to hear from a UAE national who for more than 20 years has supported her country's efforts to realise a more sustainable future while spearheading environmentalist protection, species conservation and global climate action. She was the high-level champion for the COP28 presidency team, which opened, as you know, at the end of last year in Dubai. She's also elected president of the International Union for the Conservation of Nature in 2021, only the second woman to hold that office in the 75-year history of the institution. So please join me in welcoming to the stage to give the keynote Her Excellency Razan Khalifa Al Mubarak.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good afternoon, everyone. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, incredible friends who have traveled from near and far to be with us here today. This year's theme is a matter of time. And I have to say, it's very thoughtfully crafted, and it resonates deeply with the two topics I hold very near and dear to my heart and to my life's purpose. The two topics are the topics of climate change and biodiversity loss. And as president of the International Union for the Conservation of Nature and the UN Climate Change High-Level Champion for COP28, a matter of time evokes a couple of things. It evokes a profound sense of urgency. It evokes the need for action. But it also evokes the need to re-examine the concept of time. Because by re-examining it, we may be able to shape a future that is in harmony with nature. Time, that intangible force that shapes our lives, has many layers. Time, or the mechanical time, is the watch by the clock. It's the hours, it's the minutes, it's the seconds, it's the days. It's the mechanical time that helps us track the immediate effects of potential ecological disasters, like typhoons, floods, and wildfires. Mechanical time can also be a painful reminder that with each day that we fail to act, we all lose. But to truly understand the existential ecological challenges that we are up against, we also need to consider geological time, which occurs over eras and epochs. Geological time reveals to us the evolution of life. It reveals to us the common fate of humanity. Geological time reveals to us the slow buildup of carbon in the atmosphere. It's the retreat of the glaciers, and is the profound sense of awe when we consider that the great white sharks took 400 million years to be the great white sharks that we know today. And yet, those very sharks are vulnerable to extinction. So when we hold mechanical time and geological time in two different hands, we come close to understanding the full scope of the climate and biodiversity crisis. To a certain extent, it's quite simple. The pace of our modern life is out of sync with the rhythm of nature. In other words, we are using our planet's resources approximately 2 times faster than the Earth can replenish or regenerate. And we are emitting more carbon than our planet is able to sequester. And all of this has consequences. It has consequences on climate, it has consequences on nature, and of course, people. And it exacerbates already existing social and economic inequalities. And this is not a distant threat. Our natural world, the foundation of which human life is based on, is in a state of crisis today. It's been there for some time. We know it, we knew it then, we know it now, but we also know that it's happening much faster than we had anticipated. And we see this. We see this in the rapid decline of species. Half of our planet's species are threatened with extinction. We see it in forest cover, of which we've lost already 60%. And we see it in the number of oceanic dead zones. These are huge areas of the oceans that are completely devoid of life. And those numbers have increased by 10 since the 1950s. And this is all happening at a time when we have realized that we need nature more than ever. Why? Because we've now realized that nature is a significant ally and solution to combat climate change. So let's get something right. The loss is happening and climate change is already here. 2023 was the warmest year on record. And this is already impacting people. It's impacting more than half of the world's population, and almost exclusively the world's most vulnerable communities around the world. But however, despite the depressing list of evidence of nature loss and climate change around the world, there is a cause for optimism. Why? Why are we optimistic? We're optimistic for 3 key reasons. 1, we still have time to act. 2, we know what we need to do. To avert climate catastrophe, we require 3 global transformations. We need to transform our energy systems. We need to cut emissions by half each decade. We need to transform the way we eat, because food contributes up to 1/3 to greenhouse gas emissions and 80% of habitat loss. But crucially, we need to be able to transform our relationship with nature to a culture that conserves, restores, and enhances nature for the benefit of people and planet. The good news is just 4 months ago, 196 countries at COP28 in the UAE agreed to the UAE consensus. And the UAE consensus is significant. It's actually the most important climate agreement that was signed and agreed to since the Paris Agreement, because it gave us an opportunity to course correct. The world came together for the first time and agreed to transition away from fossil fuels in a way that is just and well managed. For the first time, the world also agreed together to stop deforestation by 2030. And the world also came together to agree that the notions and the complex problems of climate and biodiversity loss can no longer be addressed in isolation. We need to be able to address those issues together. But what we still don't have is the way, the how. Because despite our best efforts, we are still losing nature faster than any time in history, and we're still living on borrowed time. And so this is an opportunity where we must lean on our culture. We must also break the barriers of isolationism. We can no longer work on these complex issues discipline by discipline, sector by sector, actor by actor. These tasks aren't a task for any single nation. They are a whole-of-world problem that will require a whole-of-society approach and a collaboration between governments, private sector, scientists, indigenous peoples, visionaries, and across every single field. But because these transformations will require geological time. And this can only happen if it's underpinned by cultural reformation and a reawakening. As such, all of you around the room, including the incredible cultural institutions, locally and globally, bear a monumental responsibility and opportunity to profoundly connect these topics together, to inspire people to work together, to foster meaning and new narratives that will eventually and crucially manifest to behavioral shifts that culminate in the systemic reform that we all need, and to turn the tide in favor of a sustainable, equitable, and verdant future. And for us to finally come to terms with the fact that we are part of nature and we are certainly not above it. Thank you very much for your attention.